1. Here's some background info. I've worked for 2 years as a hostess at a small upscale restaurant inside of a hotel on a ski resort. I absolutely love every server I work with, and I have a single night manager who can be rude when stressed out but generally means well. The workplace honestly feels like my home, and the small amount of staff is like a family. Anyways, this past summer was a busy season for the resort, since they maintain many summer activities as well. One particularly busy Saturday night, it was cutting close to closing time. Everyone was wiped out because we usually only have 1 or 2 hostesses and 4 or 5 servers by the end of the night, so it was nice for things to be winding down. I get a call at the hostess podium for a last-minute reservation. The lady has a strong Russian accent and claims that it is her and her husband's 30th wedding anniversary, and they want to make a reservation for 15 minutes before close. Why such a last-minute reservation for such an important occasion? I tell her that's fine, but I also stress the fact that our kitchen closes at 10, so any later than 9:45 won't be acceptable. She says that's fine and requests that we put roses on the table. We don't do that for anyone and do something special for her anniversary. Anyways, I clear up the details with her and end the call with, "Okay, we'll see you at 9:45. 9:45 rolls around, no sign of the lady and her husband. I wait until 9:55 at the podium, until informing the serving staff that this last reservation of the night is nowhere to be found. Our only male server, let's call him John, states that if they are any later than 15 minutes after close, we cannot make an exception for them, and he will talk to them personally. I accept because I don't want to be yelled at by this lady for her own actions, and I had never witnessed someone doing this before. Plus, John is about 60 years old and he won't take shit from anyone, God bless him. I took the initiative to go to the front desk and get the room number of the name under the reservation so I can call up the room. I call the room at 10, closing time, while the servers converse with the few kitchen staff about what's going on. The lady answers and seems annoyed, and tells me that she and her husband are on their way down right now. Fast forward to 10:30. This couple had the nerve to walk through the doors half an hour later from when I called, when we were cleaning the bar and tables in the lounge and restaurant. What the heck? I assumed they just weren't coming. Anyways, John enters the lounge and jumps into action. The lady says to him they have a reservation, and John quickly responds with, "For what time?" And she changes it and says it was for 10:15, and they are a bit late. Oh hell no, lady. You cannot change the hours of a restaurant to cater to you. John tells her we close at 10 and her reservation was at 9:45. She says, "But we have a reservation." And John counters with, "Yes, you had one for 45 minutes ago, and we even waited an extra 15 minutes past close for you and called up to your room. I'm sorry, but our kitchen is closed now." At this point, the couple just gives up trying to argue and storms out. Moral of the story: a reservation does not mean you can show up at whatever time you want and get a table. 2. Just remember this from 2 or 3 years ago when I started waiting tables. There was one table who I remember being particularly needy. Weird food orders, 2 drinks per person on most of the people, special drink requests, etc. It's about 6 people, if I remember correctly, celebrating somebody's birthday. So when their food comes out, it obviously has to be set on more than one tray. Additionally, some of the sides are placed in separate bowls, since they can be messy and might mix with or soggy up other food on the dish. Things like pinto beans, dumplings, etc. Most of the people at the table, while needy, were bearable, save for one lady in her mid-20s. I take the first dish and place it down. She has a side order of turnip greens in a separate bowl. The lady blurts out, "So are those turnip greens gonna be free since they came out late?" "No ma'am, I have them right here," I say as I set down the turnip greens. Then I put down 2 more dishes. One of them has soup as a side. "So is the soup gonna be free too since it came out late?" "Ma'am, I have the soup in my hand." I set down everything else on that tray and let them know that I'm running back to grab a second tray, since it didn't all fit on one. I come back, and as I'm setting her entree down, she asks, you guessed it, "So is that gonna be free since it came out late?" "No, it didn't come out late. There just wasn't room on the first tray."
What about my fried apples? Are those going to be free since they came out late?
No, they're right here, I bluntly say as I set down her fucking fried apples. I set down another plate.
Is that no?
Another plate.
Are those good? No.
I set down someone's salad. What? No. The others seemed slightly embarrassed by their friend, so they were sort of amused by my bluntness with her. I finally get done setting down the food, and the last plate being a plate of biscuits.
We didn't get our biscuits before the meal. I want those to be free.
The bread comes out with the meal unless requested before the meal. But we don't charge for biscuits, so sure, you can have that one for free. They order dessert and finishes it. She eventually asks for a manager, and when I bring him out, she explains about all this food she wants comped for being late. He asked her if it all came out within a certain amount of time, and she said yes. I don't understand the problem. She explains it again, and he just explains that an entire meal for 6 people can't possibly fit on one tray. And he walks away. I leave the check, conveniently neglecting to mention that we offer free dessert for birthdays. 3. Some little backstory before I start. I've been working in the food industry as service crew for a few years now, and I've seen all kinds of customers, but this one, boy, this was a new level for me at that time. This happened around 4 or 5 years ago at a burger restaurant bar I was working at then. We serve fresh burgers straight from the grill or the fryer, and we only have 2 deep-fried meat patty burgers on the menu. This story involves our item chicken satay burger. The construction of all our burgers are well described in our menu, so customers know exactly what to expect. Except for this special snowflake. I'm going to call her SS for Special Snowflake. It was a quiet lunch service with barely any tables. SS and her friend walked in and I greeted them with smiles and all. SS was your typical fitness and health enthusiast, decked in exercise gear and all. I brought them to their table, sat them down, and recommended our lunch specials, with manners and service, of course. SS did not smile or even say a word of thank you. Never mind that, we have snobs walking in and out of the restaurant all day every day. I left them to decide on their order. A while later, SS calls me over to take their order. They took a long time to decide, and I saw them study the menu as if it was a revision paper. Naturally, as a server, you would assume they know what they're getting after studying the menu for 15 minutes. I went over, took their order, and SS ordered our chicken satay burger. No questions asked, nothing. Now our description is well written on our menu. Our chicken satay burger is no different. On the menu it is called crispy golden brown chicken thigh, topped with our homemade peanut sauce. Yada yada, you get the idea. Yes, the chicken thigh is deep fried. Kitchen pushes their burgers out and I bring their burger to them. Here comes the dialogue as best as I can remember it. Hi, thank you for waiting. Here is your chicken satay burger and other order, which I forgot. Is there anything else I can help you with? SS looks at her burger, looks back at me, clearly annoyed.
What is this?
It's the chicken satay burger you ordered, ma'am. I'm sorry, did I get your order wrong?
Excuse me? I didn't know it was deep fried.
Guys, I was dumbfounded. I'm sorry, what kind of impression did crispy golden brown leave you with? Grilled? I'm sorry about that, ma'am. I'll get it changed. But I would like to politely raise a point that it was written on our menu. Would you like another burger that isn't deep fried instead? Maybe one of our beefs? I don't really remember what happened after, but she demanded a grilled chicken thigh to replace the deep fried one instead. SS must be great at parties. So I brought her food back with the tiniest amount of patience I had left in me, and told the kitchen what happened, and they of course weren't happy about her demand, after wasting one perfectly cooked burger. Kitchen gave her what she wanted. I had my colleague serve her the grilled burger, and after she left, all of us had to take a moment to register if this was just food industry knowledge, or was she just a special snowflake. Oh, and we ate the chicken satay burger in the end. Can't let good food go to waste, right? 4. This takes place in the early noughties, at a TGI Chili Bees. We were having a really terrible night, even for this poorly run restaurant. I was packed, the back of the house was understaffed, and only one manager was on duty. For some reason, this was a night that every customer decided we were a Southwest joint, and started ordering pasta dishes instead. The kitchen ran out of prepared pasta towards the end of the dinner rush, so they had to start boiling new ones. Normally not a big deal, but since they didn't anticipate this, they had to do it while active tickets were waiting for this pasta. It easily should have added at least 10 minutes onto their ticket times. But that would have been the best case scenario. It didn't go like that. I had warned my manager that another two-top was ordering pasta, and could he please make sure they start another round of pasta preps just in case the current one runs out on backed-up orders.
Sure thing, I'm on it,
he replied. So I bring out the customers' chips and salsa and warn them that the pasta might be another 25 minutes or so, and ask if they're sure they don't want to change their order. They decline, either because they're unbelievably patient, or because they heard the rumor that this shitty Tex-Mex place serves the best fettuccine alfredo this side of Santa Fe. Psst, it doesn't. A while later I check on the kitchen. They've run out of pasta again. I don't see any new ones being boiled either. Hey manager, I have a table who's been waiting like 15 minutes for pasta, and there's none left in the kitchen.
Oh, they're gonna make more, don't worry.
Didn't you say you were gonna have them started like 20 minutes ago? These guys' food should be ready by now, and the noodles are still in the box. I replied with probably a more familiar tone than I should have used with my boss, but he let it slide.
I'll pay them a visit, don't worry, the kitchen's on it.
So I shrug and go do my job. I mean, what else is there to do? The customers know, the kitchen knows, the manager knows, and I'm powerless to make them do anything about it. 10 minutes later, I stop by my table. They've stopped eating chips and are just kinda sitting there looking a little grumpy. Not mad yet, but wanting something done. I apologize for the delay and tell them I'll go check on their food again, and promise to send a manager to visit them. Hey, manager, it's been almost half an hour and these guys still don't have their pasta yet. And I trail off while leaning over to peek around the corner. Apparently the kitchen still doesn't have pasta ready. Did they make any? His eyes go wide for a second and then drop. It was the look of someone who was almost frozen by fear, but took the less challenging path of being frozen by complete hopelessness instead. He's gone. Manager, please. I need you to visit the table. They've been here for half an hour, there's no pasta. They really want it badly, apparently, and I just need your help here. He snaps out a brief, "Okay, I'll be there in a few minutes. Just let me check on the kitchen." 5 minutes later, I check in with him again, still frozen, just basically watching the kitchen microwaving small tubs of water and noodles. Table still grumpily waiting, I'm still apologizing. By now it's well past the dinner rush, and most of the customers are gone. But these guys are the last ones waiting for pasta after the noodle apocalypse. 5 minutes after that, and 5 minutes after that. Repeat this for a while, I'm begging him to visit the table, or at least comp their check, and he is just useless. Eventually the microwave dings, the cooks spudge some Alfredo into the mix, and put up the plates. By now the guys have asked to have it to go, so I just dump it into to-go boxes and bring it out. On my way toward the table I say, "Hey guys, it's finally ready. I'm so sorry it took so long, but here it is." Shit! I suddenly shout as I drop the fucking boxes on the floor right in front of them. They're stunned. I'm hopeless, just like the manager at this point. It all finally fell apart. The night is over. The world has ended. The guys shrug and smile that sarcastic smile of someone who is completely unsurprised by their bad luck. Of course, that's how this trip ends, they seem to say. I sigh. I don't know what to tell you guys, but I'm sorry. The restaurant failed you. The manager failed to make it right, and I failed to even bring the food out. There's nothing to be done about it. This went bad all around. They nod appreciatively and wait for me to tell them what happens next. I've told the manager probably a dozen times to come to see you guys, and he can't seem to get it together, so don't worry about the bill. I can get you some more chips or some soup or something, but otherwise I would totally understand if you just left. I'll figure it out afterward. They leave. I leave their check open and unpaid for the rest of the shift. When it was finally time to cash out, I approach the now functional manager and demand that he comp it. Finally, he is mentally capable of doing this. I would have put my 2 weeks' notice in at this point, but I already had, 2 weeks prior. This was my final shift, and I felt more validated than ever in my decision. 5. I was working in a little bar that basically lived off the regulars and the few little hotels in this part of the city. And of course, the 3 slot machines. Those are basically a story in themselves, and even giving you a brief overview of what they meant to the bar and its regulars would be too much for this story. Just imagine the combination of more drunk, retired, or unemployed gambling junkies than there are slot machines. I was working the close-up shift from 7 PM till open end, which was usually around midnight. The place is not very big and can be handled by an experienced person alone just fine, so I am the only staff, although summers could get rough with the outside tables. The night was pretty slow, and I decided to close shop at around half an hour before midnight. The one regular that was still there left on his own, again, imagine a combination of the above, and the only guy left was some business guy staying in one of the hotels around. He has been nice and quiet, minding his own while playing on the slots, so I tell him I'm gonna close up, kill the lights, and start doing my counting while he finishes his beer. Finished with my stuff, I get a beer for myself and sit next to him. We chat a bit, and I decide he is a fine dude, and he gets the after-hour pass. That basically means I am off clock now, but we can have a few drinks together, which of course I will charge and leave the money and a note for the morning shift until I decide to go home. While we have a decent conversation, he still puts money in on the slot right next to our table. I decide to throw in a 10 and we agree on splitting any wins. But his slow night continues and our money is gone. About half an hour later, he suddenly starts winning, I mean big time. Luckily, he is smart enough to get any winnings out and only pays with what he initially put in. At one point, he says something like, "Man, we are rocking this!" So I am a bit confused about the we part, as I didn't put in any money after our first round. He then starts to split the money he already got out and hands over half of it to me. I think to myself he may have gotten pretty drunk by now. He probably was, at least very, very tipsy by now, but still behaved very good and had no signs of being overly drunk. So I tell him the money we played together is gone, and that's his. But he didn't want to hear a thing about it and just said that our agreement still stands, and while the win is fine for him, it is not that he really needs it. So I'm sitting there baffled, with around 800 euros plus my usual pay and tips at the end of the night. Funny thing is that the machine didn't have enough cash in it, so he had to come back the next day to collect the rest of his half. Of course, his drinks were on me that night, and the guy actually became a regular whenever he is in town. Not, of course, with our other regulars. He has a job and he is fine without the gambling, no addict. The 800 euros would have been 20 extra shifts for me without tips. And that made it even better because I knew that the next 20 shifts were just extra money, and the month was already covered. My girlfriend liked the shopping trip the next day as well. Hey everybody, Hellfreezer here, and thank you very much for listening to Spinning Plates, number 20. And thank you very much to everybody who allowed me to use their stories in this video. Just got my groceries delivered a little while ago. No glitchy cookies in it this time, just yummy food to eat. Not that the cookies weren't yummy, of course. I mean, glitchy things can be very yummy indeed. I hope you guys all have a very nice relaxing weekend. I don't know what I'm doing. I've been watching Bones recently. I started rewatching that. A show I used to really enjoy. Although I could never eat dinner watching it because it was always, it got grosser as the show went on. Not so much in the early days, but grosser as the show went on. So I did kind of stop watching it. I was very late on into it, but I did stop watching it because I thought the characters became kind of parodies of themselves at some point. But I was bored the other night, and the episodes were up on Prime, Amazon Prime. It was the videos section in there. And so I thought, well, I remember I used to really enjoy that. So I put the first episode on, and before I knew it, several episodes had gone by. And yeah, it was much better in the early days. Well, that's the way it goes with a lot of shows, I suppose. You get these eccentric characters, and as time goes on, the writers just kind of they begin exaggerating things even more, just because people come to expect it, I suppose. And they've got to find new ways of engaging those traits. But you didn't come here to hear me talk about TV shows. Although, if you're looking for film recommendation, there is a new film up on Netflix that went up, I think it was last week or something, called Apostle. It's got, what's his name from Downton Abbey, played Matthew Crawley. And it's about this kind of spooky cult on an island and his sister's been abducted. And he goes there ostensibly they're demanding a ransom, the people in this cult, because the family's rich. And what he does, he goes there undercover at first to ascertain if she's still alive before they even think about paying over a ransom. It's a very good film. Some interesting twists here and there. And if you're looking for a film this weekend, I recommend that. Okay, now I'm going to head off. So until next time, thank you very much for listening, and take very good care of yourselves.